What's up, Packers fans? It is Lan here again with another episode of Cheeseheadz Weekly. Yes, I know it is 2 days and a few hours late. That's somewhat unacceptable. But I mean, it kind of happened, so that's what we're kind of stuck with at the moment. But great to be on the show again. Be able to talk to you all about Packers football. It has been exciting. Obviously, I have not actually recorded an episode lately. It feels like it's been a long time on here, even though you guys have heard an episode, last week or a week ago, except plus some because I'm so late. But yeah, you guys still have the episodes because I pre-recorded, but we were on a like almost 2 weeks, 2 weeks away. On vacation out west. Saw some awesome scenery. It's been great, and yeah, it was a really fun time. We're back here, getting back into the routine again, if you know what I mean. Adjusting back to normal life, and yeah, met a lot of new people out there. Some made some friends, and that was a lot of fun. But it's good to be back here on the show talking you in, real time, not pre-recording episodes. Um, yeah, I tell you what, there's been lots of stuff happening. Training camp season, bro, and it's really, you're probably wondering why I had to listen to that stupid NFC South preview when all this training camp stuff is happening. To be honest, I'm not sure. You guys probably don't even are a huge fan of these previews. They're sort of boring. I can see how they would be. My sort of the way I do it, and I normally don't listen to many division previews for fantasy football or anything in other podcasts. So yeah, that's. Um, but I started doing the series, so I'm probably gonna keep doing it next year. Maybe I won't. Of course, I'll have to figure out something else to actually fill up the time there. So. I mean, we can always make the episode shorter, just talk news or one little topic or something, which is fun to do and probably fun for you guys to listen to as well. So, before we get into the episode today, I would like to make a little announcement. It's not that big, especially since it's going to be not very exciting to you guys, but the show is now on Instagram. I finally have social media. Or I mean, it's just Instagram, not I don't have it on Facebook or that Twitter X thing, you know what I mean? So yeah, I don't really feel like messing with X as it's now called. But I do like to look on Twitter. I'll sign in with my Google account or something just to go to Andy Herman's Twitter to see all his notes on training camp practices. Very interesting stuff. Also, you can check out their podcast at Pack a Day Podcast. They're on Spotify and probably anywhere else. Probably more places than I have my podcast, and he talks all about training camp stuff. The reason I'm just as excited as anyone else is, or more, though, about training camp. I'm a training camp junkie. It is a lot of fun reading over his Andy Herman or any of the other Packers reporters over their notes on practices. Um, and so I'm just as much into it as anyone else. The fact that I'm not talking about it is mainly due to the fact that I'm not one of those guys, I'm not actually at the practices, so I'm going off of what they're saying. So I'd rather not just be sitting here acting like I know what I'm talking about, I'm just sitting here jabbering away to you about how Love made this great throw and that great throw, and when I didn't even see the throws. So, I mean, obviously I believe what these guys are saying, but I don't want to just like start talking over here like it's this is my show, my podcast, and I'm going to talk about all these things about training camp that came from someone else. So you can go listen to his podcast for more detailed stuff. I will, briefly go over some things, but I'm not going to deep dive into it because obviously I wasn't there myself. As far as other stuff, we got Q&As and polls on Spotify, just Spotify. I really like to see participation. That just kind of gets the, Packers community um, together, and I like to see that participation. And it's fun having little discussions like that just about Packers stuff. I love discussing it with others. You can also send in a voice message via the link in the description of every single episode, every single platform. Um, Speaking of which, the show is available on Spotify, Google Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Pandora. It also is available on Stitcher, but I'm not going to announce that too much anymore because Stitcher is kind of going away on like August 29th, I think. Not like a ton of people use it anyway, but pretty much Pandora is going to be the new Stitcher, I guess, and it's also Pandora. So, new episodes every Tuesday, and you can hit the bell icon on Spotify at least to be notified when a new episode comes out. You can tell your friends about the show. That's really awesome. If you tell your friends about the show, you can rate the show, and you can now follow the show on Instagram at Cheeseheadz_weekly. Obviously, Cheeseheadz is spelled with a Z. Also, you're going to want to check out our website. I have a link to that in my podcast Instagram account. So you can check it out from there. There's a link in the description of every episode to check out the website there as well. And yeah, if you want to follow my personal account on Instagram, you go at land_man33. If you want to follow me personally, but it is a private account, so I will have to accept your request. And I'm not going to guarantee that I'm going to do that. But if you want to try to follow me personally on Instagram, you can do that, and obviously follow the show on Instagram. That would be great. Yeah, just a little sneak peek behind the scenes. Part of the reason, I was late. Well, not really, but um, I was gonna do it. Have it only one day late. That didn't happen, and I am trying to work on starting a YouTube channel for the show, and hopefully do video podcasting. If not, I'll at least put the episodes on YouTube so you can just, with a picture of my logo or something, and you can still listen to all the shows on there. It's just you won't be able to see my face. Um, to be honest, video podcasts don't seem. I mean, it's just sitting there, one single view of me talking, and or anyone else that does video podcasting, and that seems like it'd be kind of boring. But yeah, YouTube is a pretty popular place for podcast, believe it or not. So, we're looking into that. I'm not going to guarantee that it's going to happen, but I'm working in that direction. And obviously, this all takes time, and I don't have a ton of extra time, which is sort of why I'm late. So let's go right into our division preview. Hopefully, I'll have some more interesting topics to talk about next episode. But as of now, not a ton of news. Dalvin Cook's still unsigned. It looks to me like he is eyeing the Jets. That's where he wants to sign. Some people from the Jets want him to sign there. I think maybe. I don't care a ton. I'd rather he didn't sign with the Jets. For fantasy football purposes, I'd rather him sign somewhere where he's a starter. But the other main suitor is Miami, and he might not be the starter there either. So we'll see how this all plays out. DeAndre Hopkins, as far as training camp buzz go, he's been looking like vintage DeAndre Hopkins. At least the Titans seem to think so. Just signed not too long ago by the Titans. Kareem Hunt is bouncing around visiting teams. He got offered a contract in Indianapolis that did not work out. He had visited the Saints previously and said that was a great visit, and but the Colts had offered him more money to get him to go over there for a visit and offered him a contract. That didn't work out, so the Colts have been signing some running backs. Signed a couple of running backs, lesser known ones, to, with the uncertainty of Jonathan Taylor's situation. I'm hoping to detail some of that more next week when I have more time, hopefully. Um, but yeah, Jonathan Taylor, to put it simply, is not very happy with the team, and so they are stocking up for the possibility that he could um, miss some of the season um, for um, for whatever reason. So I guess we will get into our preview here. Um, Although as far as Packers training camp buzz, I probably should say a little something about this. Jordan Love has been up and down. You can't really say it any different than that. Um, Jordan Love is obviously the guy we have eyes on, but they just had a joint practice Wednesday, which would be yesterday as I'm recording this. And yeah, just it was a pretty good day, but he did also, he had some learning experiences. And that's what I really like about this, because training camp, you can make mistakes and he can learn from those experiences. He kind of gave it away that he was going to throw a screen, and, the corner jumped the route and got a pick from it. And so, that's good things to learn before the season starts. And so I'm happy that it's happening now. He also had a rainbow of a throw to Romeo Dobbs. From what I've heard, some other nice throws. He also, underthrew Dobbs deep, overthrew Luke Musgrave deep. A few throws he missed. So, it's up and down. It's kind of been like that all training camp. He's had a few really awesome days. He's had a lot of really wow throws. So, one thing I can tell you is next season's just going to be a fun season, okay? I'm sure it's going to be up and down. I think the season's going to be a lot like Jordan Love's training camp. I think it is going to be up and down, although maybe he'll do a little bit better in the season once he starts figuring things out, especially as the season goes on. But he's a young, inexperienced quarterback, never been a starter before in the NFL, and that's just the way it's going to be. But I can tell you this, he is so talented. He can make all the throws. Physically, he can do it. And, man, he just looks really... there's going to be so many highlight reel plays of him just rainbowing it deep to Watson, Dobbs, and, Luke Musgrave now. He looks like a weapon at the tight end position, and it's going to be a really exciting year. And, the expectations are kind of low, or they probably should be, at least in my mind, for what Jordan Love is going to be doing. I don't think he's going to come out there and be like Aaron Rodgers. And so I'm just treating it like, we're just going to have fun. I can't wait to watch Jordan Love play because he's such a fun player to watch. They have so many fun young players, it's going to be fun to see them work in Matt LaFleur's scheme and see how all this works out together. And who knows, maybe they'll get somewhere this season, maybe they won't. But it's just going to be fun to watch, and I'm just here to enjoy the ride. And cannot wait for the beginning of the season. Packers do have their first preseason game against the Bengals tomorrow night, Friday night at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. That is going to be a blast. I can't wait to see that, although I probably will only be able to see highlights and stuff after. I'm not sure I'm going to be able to watch it, being as I live in PA and everything. But, yeah, it's going to be awesome to see what he can do there in the preseason game. So, let's get into our preview. Let's start with strength of schedule. We're already 15 minutes into the show, so we're going to try to hurry this up. So we're looking at the NFC East here today. That includes the New York Giants, the Dallas Cowboys, the Washington Commanders, and, of course, the Philadelphia Eagles. As far as strength of schedule goes, we have the easiest schedule here is the Washington Commanders. They have the 24th easiest schedule. Pretty easy schedule for them. We go up the 18th easiest schedule, kind of in the middle, slightly toward the back end, the harder side for the Cowboys and the Giants at 18 and 19 respectively. easiest schedule. And then the Eagles are at 13. So they don't have a crazy hard schedule either. Let's look at rest disparity though. So if we look at rest disparity, the well, let me see if I can find them first. That would be a good idea. So the Eagles have a -6 rest disparity. The Giants have a -9. And then we go up from there. Dallas has a +1. And Washington has a +12. So it looks like Washington is far and away has the easiest schedule and rest disparity and combined. And you can take what you will from that. So let's get into the schedule. The Commanders start the season off at home versus the Cardinals with a win. They go to Denver to play the Broncos in week 2 and lose. You know, they're starting a second year QB in Sam Howell. And it's hard to kind of figure out what they're doing. You know, it's a lot of unknowns, you know, when you have a new starter, kind of like what the Packers are with Jordan Love. It's hard to predict. So I probably had him toward the lower end of the spectrum. I just have trouble seeing him winning games. But it's possible, you know, Sam Howell's really good, and I like Sam Howell. And hope he can do good. But I have them, you know, I have the bar set very low for them to start. So yes, they lose to the Broncos in Denver week 2. Week 3 at home versus the Bills is a loss. At Eagles is a loss. At home versus the Bears on Thursday Night Football is a win though. And at the Falcons is a loss. They also are at the Giants, which is a loss. Then they go back home to play the Eagles and lose. Then they go to New England to play the Patriots and lose. They are then in Seattle and they lose there. They go home to play the Giants. They upset the Giants and get the W there. Then they play the Cowboys in Dallas in a Thanksgiving game, and they lose that one. Then they play the Dolphins at home. They lose that one as well. Then it's their bye week all the way in week 14. So that's where the Packers was last year. And then at Los Angeles, the Rams for a win. Then they go to play the Jets in New York and lose. Go back home, play the 49ers and lose. Week 18 is at home versus the Cowboys. They upset them with a win. They go 4-13. So they actually don't. They go 5. Let me just check something real quick and make sure I did this right on both ends. Okay, so in week 18, yes, they did upset the Cowboys at home. So they actually go 5-12. So I think this is a fairly reasonable spot for them to be. It's possible they don't even do quite this good if Sam Howell really struggles. I don't think they will. They got Eric Bieniemy now as OC. I think they can do pretty good. 5-12 isn't really pretty good, but you know what I mean. Pretty good for what we're looking at there. So we'll go on to the next team now. Number 3 in the division is going to be the Dallas Cowboys. I think this is the year they completely fall apart. Just a bold prediction. I think after this year, they fire Mike McCarthy, and yeah, well, I'll explain why here in a minute. So they start off the season at New York, the Giants, and lose. Then the Giants upset them in week 1. Then they're at home versus the much hyped Jets, and they lose. They're at Arizona for the win. They go home to play the Patriots and win. Then they're at San Francisco. They lose. Then they're at Los Angeles Chargers on Monday Night Football. They lose. Then it is their bye week. After that, they go home to play, or they just stay home, after the bye week. And they get the win. Then they play the Eagles in Philadelphia. They lose. They play the Giants at home and win. They play the Panthers in Carolina, win. They play the Commanders at home and win. They play the Seahawks on Thursday Night Football at home. They get the win. And they play the Eagles at home, upset the Eagles for the win. Then they are in Buffalo to play the Bills. They lose. They play the Dolphins at the Dolphins. They win. They play the Lions at home and win. Then they're upset by the Commanders in Week 18 in Washington, D.C. And they go 10-7 on the season. I think I did actually mess that up. I think they are actually second in the division. My bad. Or no. Okay, well, it depends. Yeah, the Giants have the same record. So it depends on where the tiebreaker goes. And I should have looked into this more. I don't know exactly how the tiebreaker works. I do know it's head to head first, and they split the head to head. So, and then it's probably, I think after that, it's probably division matchups. How many of their division matchups they win? They split a lot of them. They beat the Eagles, lost to the Eagles. They split every single one of them. And I think about every single team. The Eagles would have the best division. The Giants, well, let's go to the Giants next. Look over their schedule, see what they do. We'll see. Yeah, but they obviously have the better coach there with Brian Daboll. Had an amazing first year there with Daniel Jones and company. I think they can have a really good season. So let's get into their schedule, see what they can do. First, they start off at home versus the Cowboys. They upset them for the win in Week 1, and then they go to play the Cardinals in Arizona and win. After that, they go to San Francisco on Thursday Night Football, and they lose. They're at home versus the Seahawks, and they win. Then they go to Miami to play the Dolphins and lose. Then they go to Buffalo to play the Bills. They win this one against Daboll's former team, Sean McDermott. Yeah, because Daboll is that good of a coach. And that's on Sunday Night Football, by the way. Then they're at home versus the Commanders. They win that one. They're at home versus the Jets. They lose that one. They go to play the Raiders in Las Vegas for the win. At the Cowboys, they lose. At the Commanders, they lose. So the Commanders upset them 1 week. Let me just make sure I did that right. I did do that right. They play the Patriots at home and win. Then it is their bye in Week 13. Week 14, they're at home versus the Packers. They lose. Then they play. I'm saying the Packers get revenge on the Giants and make Rodgers look foolish for losing to them last year. Because they go and beat him this year with Jordan Love. I just love revenge games. I do that a lot in this schedule, switching things up. Like in that NFC Championship rematch, the Eagles will play the 49ers. I have the 49ers beating the Eagles this time, like going back and forth with those different games. I do a lot of that. But anyway, they're playing at the Saints in Week 15, and they get the win. At the Eagles, they lose. At home versus the Rams, they win. I have them upsetting the Eagles 1 week in Week 18, and they get the win there. That's at home. They go 10-7. So I think they split most of their division matchups too. It's just a matter of, they did lose to the Cowboys once. So I don't know what tiebreaker we're gonna go off of because I don't know of any other tiebreakers or what's next as far as tiebreakers. But I'll just go ahead and throw it out there since I have to predict the order. I'm going to put the Giants at number 2 in the division behind the Eagles. This is the year the Cowboys fall apart because guess what? They're having so much issues. They got guys with egos that want big money. They have so much problem with that, and everyone seems frustrated at Dak. They don't have a ton of respect for Dak. Obviously, I think most of the offensive players do, like CeeDee Lamb. Obviously, yeah. But the defense has been jawing at Dak all camp long, yelling all sorts of interesting language to say the least. Language that I certainly would never use. Um, or would hope I never use that sort of language being thrown at him during camp from the defense, and they just don't seem to respect him a ton. I think this team has a good bit of dissension, and when a team is fighting among themselves, that's not a very good team, okay? And you want them fighting for their teammates, not against their teammates, and I just don't like to see that. Packers have not had a training camp fight within their own. They did at the joint practice with the Bengals. That was pretty silly, but um, you have to just understand things happen like that in football, and you hope it never happens in a game. Um, but they've never had one in actual team, just their team training camp practices, and so yeah, the Packers have a team. And I think the Giants do too, much more so than the Cowboys. And so I think this is the year McCarthy gets fired. Chalk that up to one of my bold predictions, and we'll see what happens. On to the Eagles, number one in the division. So, by the way, the Cowboys and Giants both go 10-7. I say the Giants are number two in the division, ahead of the Cowboys. So the Eagles, they'll play the Patriots in New England in Week 1 and get the win. They play the Vikings at home on Thursday Night Football for the win. They go to Tampa Bay to play the Buccaneers on Monday Night Football. They win. They play the Commanders at home and they win. And Week 5 against the Rams at the Rams, they win. At the Jets, they win. At home versus the Dolphins on Sunday Night Football, I say the Dolphins upset them in this matchup and they lose. The Commanders, they win. At Commanders, they win that one. At home versus the Cowboys, they win that one. Then they have their bye week. And then they play the Chiefs at the Chiefs on Monday Night Football. They win in the Super Bowl rematch, switching it around, like I like to do. And then they play the Bills at home. They win. They play the 49ers at home. They lose. That's that revenge game, championship game. At the Cowboys, I say they lose that one. The Cowboys, I say they do upset the Eagles once. That's always a very exciting matchup to watch. Cowboys-Eagles, Sunday Night Football. This one will be fun. At the Seahawks, they win. At home versus the Giants, they win. At home versus the Cardinals, they win. At the Giants in Week 18, I say the Giants upset them. They lose. They still go 13-4 on top of the NFC East. And for all I know, they could be on top of everyone. They could be the number one seed in the NFC. I don't know that yet because I have not completed the whole schedule for the NFC North and the NFC West yet. So that pretty much ends my preview. You just go ahead and look at that Eagles depth chart. You can see why I have them so high up. But we were able to get through that preview quick enough that, my rambling at the beginning doesn't make the episode look too long. And we should be able to cap it under 30 minutes. So thank you all for listening. Hope it wasn't too boring for you. Obviously, we're not talking a ton of training camp stuff. I'm excited for preseason and then the regular season once we get there. It sounds like Love and the starters will play at least a few series on Friday night, so should be fun to watch. But thank you all for listening. Thanks for supporting the show. Follow me on Instagram. Check out the website. Check out the Q&As and polls. Send in a voice message. You can contact me by email if you want to contact me. That's in the description and, about anywhere else you want to find it. So, yeah. I think that's about it. Tell your friends about the show. Rate the show. Those two things are very important to get the word out. And, yeah, thank you all for your support. Really appreciate it. And hopefully you'll forgive me for just being late on the episode so much. But yeah, that's it for this episode. I'll talk to you later. Goodbye.